Every single guy wants to get to 10% body fat or even single digit to have that aesthetic, lean, high status physique. You look like a movie star, you look like a fitness model, but almost no guys who go to the gym actually achieve it. And it's not because dieting is super difficult or impossible, it's because they don't understand the process and the phases every physique needs to go through to achieve this type of transformation, where you have the shredded abs, where your muscles are defined and full, and you still have energy to operate on a daily basis in other aspects of your life. If you don't understand these phases and what they do to your body, dieting, trying to get extremely lean is almost going to feel impossible, and you are going to give up right before the point where you actually see real change. Getting lean isn't just going on a dieting phase. If you actually want to build this type of physique that makes you more confident, more attractive, it's about integrating a system into your life so it becomes predictable, and it's never a chance of if I can get it. There is going to be a phase where it feels like you're doing the exact opposite of what you need to do. There's a phase where progress is going to feel ridiculously easy. And then you're going to get into a phase where progress feels impossible. And then the weird part is right after that, you go back into a phase where you see your best physique and progress becomes not only effortless, but the best progress you've ever made in the gym and with your physique. I've personally used this system every single time I've got to single digit body fat, and I use it with all my clients who are trying to get shredded into 10%. Every transformation who sticks out long term follows this structure. This is not about crash dieting. This is about making your body and your metabolism do majority of the work so it doesn't feel like every single day you're low energy, low libido, and you have no drive to actually even go to the gym. We're going to break down these 4 phases, what actually happens to your body, why most guys fail and where, and how you can actually make it through all 4 so you can achieve that top 1% elite aesthetic physique. Phase 1 is arguably one of the most important. It's where 99% of guys skip entirely. This is where you prime your metabolism to actually go into a dieting phase. And I call this creating a runway. So many guys try to diet while they're already on 1,700 calories, maybe even 2,000. But the problem with this is if you have to lose 15 pounds of fat, you don't have very far to go. You're not going to be eating 1,500 calories every day. And if you do that and you can survive the low energy, the low libido, the poor mood swings, your training performance is going to be terrible. So even if you lose the weight, you are not going to see your best physique. Your metabolism is already suppressed, your mood is low, and your desire to actually train and maintain or build muscle is almost at an all-time low. Once you plateau, that's it. There's no more changes we can add in. Are you realistically going to do 2 hours of cardio and eat 1,200 calories? No. And your body is going to get inflamed, you're going to hold water, and you're not going to produce a good aesthetic physique. You will look probably skinny fat. The whole purpose of this phase is to increase our metabolism, improve our strength, build even a little bit of muscle, get our sex drive back, and actually feel good on a daily basis. So the cut actually becomes effortless. And that initial phase we're about to go into after isn't so difficult. Okay, so how do we actually do this phase? Well, this phase can last anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks, depending on how depleted or how low your calories are. But number one, you need to start increasing your calories very, very slowly. 100 to 150 calories per week until we actually get you to a good baseline. Now, the thing is, you can keep pushing this baseline up as long as your training performance is improving, and you can improve the ceiling of your metabolism. And this is going to make it so when you go into a cut, that first initial 10, 15, 20 pounds is easy, light work to do. You want to make sure your training is absolutely dialed in. You are hitting new PRs, you're moving heavier weight, and you are creating new muscle tissue that we're going to see and reveal once we actually go into the dieting phase. You also want to make sure you're still implementing a little bit of cardio. You're still feeling healthy. And the reason why we want to keep some type of cardio or a high step count in is number one, just to have a high NEAT, so we're burning loads of calories. But if you go into a dieting phase or the following steps we're about to go into without doing any cardio, it's going to feel painful. It's going to feel annoying to do, and it's going to feel very jarring because you haven't been doing it before the cut. When we're increasing these calories, I also want to mention you need to put your carbohydrates around your training. So pre and post workout, make those your highest carb meals. The whole point of having this increased food is to increase not only our metabolism, but our strength in the gym, as I said earlier. If you avoid this phase, you have to look at it like this. You have a cup of water that actually has no water in it or it's very low and you're consistently trying to pour out of it. You're on low calories, you're trying to train, you're trying to do steps, but there's nothing to pour out of it. You are getting no return from all your efforts. So priming your metabolism and doing phase one is absolutely essential if you actually want to be able to diet and see significant changes, not just lose 10 pounds and then rebound right back. Now that we've done phase one, it's time to go into phase two. And this is the initial dieting phase. This is actually the easiest step. And this is where most guys completely walk through, piece of cake, no problems at all. This is where you go into a moderate calorie deficit, 300 to 500 calories. You increase your output on a daily basis. So maybe you add in a little bit of light, low intensity cardio. You do some steps. You're still training hard in the gym. Inflammation goes down. In the first week, you see 3 to 5 pounds fall off really fast. Your waist starts to tighten up. You start noticing your face looks a little bit leaner. People at work, the girls in HR are giving you compliments, and you're starting to feel a little bit good about yourself. Now you're building momentum. This is why that first phase is so important, though, because we want to make this phase as good as possible. If you start your diet on 2,000 calories and to go into a 500 calorie deficit, you're already at 1,500 calories. You're not going to be having a good time. But if you start at 3,000 calories and go to 2,500, not only are you going to feel better mood wise, but oftentimes when guys are eating a lot of food, they start feeling lethargic. So when you pull that initial calories down by 300 to 500, they start feeling better, and this leads to better performance in the gym. So much of training and making progress is actually how you feel about the workout. The amount of effort you can put in is all about your enthusiasm. So if you feel better on a daily basis, you are going to actually make more progress in the gym. The goal here is really simple. We want to pull up that first initial 10, 15 pounds as fast as possible without going in a crazy calorie deficit, keeping our output high. We want to maintain or actually improve our strength in the gym, which is definitely possible, and just make sure overall we're not overexerting ourselves when we don't have to. So many guys will completely plummet their calories straight away. They say, oh, I'm in a dieting phase, sub 2,000 calories. It's really not necessary if you just want to lose that first 10 to 15 pounds. All right, phase three. This is where 99% of guys actually give up because this is all about the psychological warfare you're about to endure. This is the depletion phase. This is where you step on the scale and you see a weight that is way under what you expect to be. You thought you had way more muscle. You've been dieting now for 12, 60, maybe 20 weeks, and you're looking at the scale going, there's no way I'm 170 pounds. I've been training for a decade. You start looking in the mirror, your face looks absolutely chiseled, but you're hungry 24/7 and your muscles you don't even look like you lift anymore. You wear a shirt and you disappear. This is all about getting rid of your glycogen stores and actually getting truly lean. Most guys underestimate how fat they actually are. The depletion phase completely exposes this. This is where you are starting to get to actual low digit body fat, 10, 11, and even single digit body fat. This is where it actually starts becoming difficult. The previous phase, is easy. You lose that weight, no problem. Small deficit. This is where food starts actually getting a little bit lower. You have to actually being a little bit more strategic about where you place your food, how you start integrating habits into your life to make things feel automatic. So going and doing 12,000, 15,000 steps or doing your cardio or where you actually place your carbohydrates matters more than anything. This is the difference between looking like a guy that goes to the gym and he's in good shape and looking elite, standing out, looking almost photo shoot ready. So many guys give up here because they see the scale weight going down. They have bad workouts in the gym. They start losing 10, 15% strength, especially on things like legs and chest and shoulders, a lot of pushing movements, and they think it's all over. I need to get out of this phase as soon as possible. But this is where your physique really starts to separate from the average gym goer. The truth is you're not losing muscle, and the scale weight you see is actually indicative of how much muscle mass you really have, not water retention, not just glycogen. This is how much muscle you actually have on your skeleton. You're just depleted. This is the phase you need to stick out if you want to look crazy when people take photos of you when you're at the beach. This is what every influencer, every fitness model go through. It is completely normal. What you need to do on this phase is start making your sleep like a ritual, because when you are on lower calories, your sleep is going to start taking a hit and you do not want to be going to bed hungry because you're not going to sleep at all. You also want to make sure your training performance stays as good as it can. You are going to lose probably 10 to 15%, but you need to make sure you're still training heavy and you're still doing exactly what built the muscle, because that is what is going to keep it. You also need to make sure that you're not going into a crazy deficit still. You only lower your calories when you need to. I would rather add in 3,000 more steps a day than lower my calories because I know if I eat more, I'm going to be able to train harder and therefore, as I said earlier, maintain the muscle. You want to make sure you're extremely hydrated and make sure you're eating enough of each macro. Eating enough protein. We all know the rule. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, but you need to make sure your fats are above 40 at the bare minimum if you want good hormone function. You also don't want to be rushing this phase. This is a phase that you could be in for a while, but if you go less aggressive, you stay in it for a little bit longer, but it's not as painful, you are going to get there in a lot smoother. But if you go super aggressive on this phase, you dump the calories, you do as much cardio as possible, you're going to feel like ass and you're probably going to end up binge eating. Getting flat, getting depleted in this phase is normal, and that is a good sign and it means you're close. All right, phase 4. This is the best phase. This is where you're actually going to see your physique at its peak. This is the reverse dieting phase. I talk about this a lot. This is where your physique starts to fill out. You're no longer flat. You're increasing your calories. Your strength is going through the roof. Your body has never been more responsive to food ever in its life. You're insulin sensitive and you are not gaining any fat. You can't believe how much food you're eating on a daily basis. Muscles are refilling with glycogen, so now your muscles are pressing against the skin. You look leaner, but you're eating more food. It's all backwards. It doesn't make any sense. Your libido's through the roof. Your test levels are fucking skyrocketing. You have never felt better in your life. Every time you see yourself in the mirror, you literally go, I am a superhero. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. You're vascular, you're hard, you're lean, you're dry, and overall, you have never seen yourself like this. The first time I went through a reverse dieting phase, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This phase is actually the most important. I know I said the first one was arguably the most important, but this is by far critical. Because if you skip this phase, which majority of guys do, you rebound, meaning you cut, you go through that depleted phase. And after that depleted phase, you're so tired, you're so hungry, your mood sucks, you can't even make a decision anymore. And then you eat 6,000 calories in one day. The next day you eat 4,000 calories. Guess what? You just erased 12 weeks of progress and you're right back to where you started. It is imperative that you do this if you want to maintain your physique long term. The only issue, it's going to be the hardest phase. Depleting is hard for different reasons. This is all about a mental battle, not because it's difficult, but because your brain is going to be craving things. Your brain is going to be telling you, you need to eat 4,000 calories. It will be okay. You need to have that cake and that ice cream because you just went through the depletion phase and your body is craving everything. But you need to slowly integrate these back into your body. So you're going to do the same as the priming phase. Phase 1, you're going to slowly start integrating calories back in. The first week, I would add 200 to 300 calories. Then I would go to 150 per week until we hit your maintenance. Watch your body weight every single day. Check the averages. You're probably going to see it go up 2 pounds, 3 pounds, maybe in the first week to get that first initial fullness. That's your body storing the glycogen. Then you want to see that body weight almost hold for as long as possible. That's how you know you're still eating either around your maintenance or just below. You also want to gradually reduce your cardio in this phase. So if you've been doing 5 times a week at 40 minutes, pull that down to 4 minutes at 20 minutes. You want to do just enough to keep in a baseline that's healthy, that works your heart, helps your blood flow, and keeps you tight, but you don't want to be hammering. You want to focus on recovery, building as much muscle as possible in this phase, and applying your best physique. See, the only reason you fail on a diet is not because of your genetics or your effort or your lack of consistency. It's because you don't actually know what you're doing. There is a knowledge gap between the physique you want and where you're currently at. If you start implementing these phases, it actually becomes fairly effortless. Yes, you have to diet, but it's a lot easier than being in a physique you don't actually like and you're not proud of and always feeling a lack of confidence. When you do these in order, you will finally achieve the physique you've always dreamed of. And if you do this enough times, you are going to be in a great position where you're finally going to build that top 1% physique and get all the leverage and benefits. And if you guys want to personally have one of these built for you around your lifestyle, especially if you're busy and you don't want to think about making decisions, you want someone to tell you what you need to do and why it's being done so you can see results, DM me on Instagram at Brasai and DM me the word ready. We will talk about where you're currently at, how we can implement this into your life and build that aesthetic physique.